President of Chamber. We're thrilled to have you here at May AIDS and Issues, where we'll interact and meet a little bit more with our Washington County Administrator and our new Public Schools Superintendent. And we'll introduce those two gentlemen here shortly. I wanted to make a few announcements. First, our WCBA winners in attendance this morning. We have representing Smith, Elliott Kearns and Company. Our large business of the year in attendance, we have Bill Fritz, Peter McDonald, Kelly Cobb, Kelly Smith, Terry Crate, and Judy Hebb. Let's welcome them and congratulations again. This is their first official outing after tax season, so they look pretty good. Pretty good. We have also our Leading Edge Award winners, Antietam Cable. We have representing Antietam Cable, Kurt Pendleton and Bill Heisel. Good morning and welcome. Congratulations again. And Bill's a Heisel? Heisel, okay. I'll get it right next time. Good morning. We have a number of our elected officials here in attendance from the Washington County Commissioners. We have John Barr and Commissioner Jeff Klein. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for being here. We had on attendance our mayor, Bob Barucci, and Councilmember Emily Keller. Did either one of them make it in yet? Okay, well, when they come in, we have welcomed them. Let's give them a round of applause in absentia. We also have representing the Washington County Board of Education, Honorable Stan Stauffer, Karen Harshman, and Michael Gessford. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We also wanted to thank our host this morning, Applause Catering at the Academy Theater. The breakfast is great. Let's give these ladies, and if there's any gentlemen in the back, thank you. We also like to acknowledge for AIDS and Issues, After 5 Productions does a podcast, and Antietam Cable helps us with that. So we have this available after the fact. If someone you know is not here would like to see it, you can tell them. And if you want to relive any of this morning, you can also go there as well. It's now my pleasure to introduce our event sponsor representative from Smith, Elliott Kearns and Company. Please help me welcome Bill Fritz.
Thanks, Paul. On behalf of Smith, Elliott Kearns, welcome, and thank you all for coming. I'm sure you will find today's presentation very informative, and that's all I have to say. Thanks again, and we're happy to be your sponsor.
Thank you. And as Bill mentioned in his at their WCBA award reception, they are actively involved in nonprofits, and for the last number of years I can recall, they've been treasurer for the chamber, and so thank you for the work you're doing here for us and for the nonprofits locally as a team. So I'll introduce first, here in a second, Dr. Michael, then when he's finished, we'll introduce Rob Slocum. And we'll save our questions for both of them until they're both finished, and we'll field some questions. And so I'll read Dr. Michael's bio, and when he's finished, I'll come up and read Rob Slocum's bio. Dr. Boyd Michael has served Washington County students, families, staff, and community for 38 years. As a teacher, coach, and educational leader, he has demonstrated a passionate commitment to ensuring students receive optimal opportunities to succeed at the highest levels. In his leadership role as second in command for Washington County Public Schools, Dr. Michael is instrumental in the implementation of the one-to-one iPad initiative, making WCPS the first Maryland district to achieve an instructional technology plan of this type. Additionally, he has spearheaded a significant portion of the downtown revitalization project for the school system, working alongside local and state officials to secure funding that will expand learning opportunities for students. Among other key responsibilities, Dr. Michael has been on the front line for more than a decade working to secure capital improvements funds for schools construction projects. Dr. Michael is also a lifetime resident of Washington County. Please help me welcome Dr. Boyd Michael.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Paul just shared my bio. I have been working here in Washington County Public Schools for 38 years. I hope to start my 39th year July 1st. I have the opportunity to be a teacher at Clear Spring High School for 12 years. I've been an assistant principal at South Hagerstown High School, Washington County Technical High School, principal at Hancock. I've held a variety of roles at the Board of Education, and excited right now to be the interim superintendent for Washington County Public Schools. I've been on the dark side of the house a little bit, working with beans, buildings, buses, those types of things for the last several years. But my passion has always been in instruction. That's where I've spent more than 30 of the 38 years that I've been with Washington County Public Schools, helping children learn, and more importantly, right now, focus on their future. And when I talk about that now, the more I've been kind of reflecting and thinking about our kindergartners, and some of you may have heard this already from me, but I'm getting more and more passionate about it the more I think about it. There are 5- and 6-year-olds that are in kindergarten, are 12 years away from graduating from high school. What will that world of work look like 12 years from now from them? What will the college experience, post-secondary education experience, military experience, whatever that might be, 12 years away from them? Recently, I heard a little news discussion about Social Security. You know, we're worried about the future of Social Security, but probably the age for receiving Social Security is probably going to go up. We're probably going to continue to see life expectancy to increase. I hope we do. So I can imagine a lot of our children that are kindergartners right now will probably work until they're 70 years old or more. If that's true, we're 12 years away from them graduating. At that point, we're 52 years away from them coming out of the workforce. What type of skills will they need for that whole period of time to be prepared for the world of work? And our job in Washington County Public Schools is to lay that foundation for them and to prepare them for this ever-changing world, probably job market that's going to change and change and change over this long period of time. And I'm very passionate about that, and our team at WCPS is very passionate about that. I'm kind of a list maker, very focused on what I'm trying to accomplish. Lots of chart paper kind of in my war room, long to-do list type things. Morning, Bernadette, I haven't seen you. Sorry. But I do things with purpose. I'm very targeted in what I try to do. I'm also one that's not afraid to admit failure and or a decision that I made might not have been the best decision, and figure out how to back up, reevaluate, and make a new direction. And again, I don't do things out of whims or just very quickly. I do things very purposefully and hope to evaluate our decision. I'm kind of known at this Board of Ed as kind of a data guy, because charts and graphs and numbers and things like that I was producing way back before I was at Hancock, charting student attendance and some of our student achievement data and things like that, trying to put that in a picture form for people that weren't so much data driven. What's happened to me over the years, in addition to hard numbers and charts and graphs and things like that, I'm much more interested in verbal feedback and information like that. That is equally important as hard numbers. And we've spent a lot of time here in recent weeks gathering information from people that aren't numbers, but are real things that we need to work on and correct to help move forward. Some non-negotiables for me: I act with urgency. That's just kind of, staff's like, can't wait till tomorrow, and I'm like, no, we're moving today. It's just kind of been my MO for my whole career. I really believe for that child that's in 3rd grade, we want that to be the best experience we possibly can make it for them for 3rd grade. They're not going to be in 3rd grade next year, we hope. So this year, we need to make it the best 3rd grade experience we possibly can. Kids in middle school, kids in high schools, even our seniors are only a couple weeks away from graduating. What are we doing right now to help them get into college? What are we doing right now to help them prepare for the workforce? What are we doing to push them across the finish line to graduate if there's some risk or danger of that? So we need to act with urgency. Non-negotiable for me is an excellent teacher in every classroom. Research has not changed on this for years and years and years. The #1 factor of student achievement is the teacher. If we can provide an excellent teacher in every classroom, we will dramatically see improvement in Washington County education, and long-term our workforce, and long-term our community. I read a study here recently that an excellent teacher can teach in 6 months what the average teacher can teach in 1 year. Now, there makes some sense to that. Somebody's got to be average. I look at myself as an average person. I'm not trying to, suggest that I'm an excellent person. But there are people, when I was teaching, were excellent. And it made sense that they probably, through their skill set, could teach in 6 months what I might teach for a year. The scary part to the research I recently read, that below average teacher, that teacher that wasn't excellent, wasn't average, would take them 2 years to teach what the average teacher taught in a year, that excellent teacher taught in 6 months. children don't have that below average teacher for 2 years. They have them for 1 year and they move on. What I read a Tennessee study a number of years ago, if you have that below average teacher 2 years in a row and you're socioeconomically disadvantaged, you never recover from that. And kind of when I blur those two pieces of research together, I believe that to be true. So part of my role is to make sure that we have an excellent teacher in every classroom. Number 2 factor of student achievement is school leadership. School leadership could be the principal, it could be the leadership team, it might involve the head custodian, the head secretary, whatever. But excellent leadership in the school makes a difference. And we're going to be very purposeful about leadership teams that we pull together in our schools in Washington County. Then naturally, the curriculum that we teach is a key part. It's a non-negotiable for me. We have a lot of work going on with our curriculum right now. Very excited about some of that work. So today, I'm not prepared to roll out a big vision or long-term plan or anything like that, but some things we're focused on right now, our digital learning plan, kind of our next phase of that, we're calling our 2.0. We're gathering a lot of information. We have surveys going out to teachers. We have a group meeting with students, parents, administrators to get some feedback on our iPad plan. Right device for every child, right apps on the iPad. How do we do with our Wi-Fi connection? How do we do with breakage? How do we do with professional development? All those types of things. And then we'll kind of tweak our plan and roll back out in the fall with an enhanced digital learning plan. Kindergarten readiness. I've talked about this in a number of venues I've been at recently. I'm shocked. I've been following this for several years, but no matter what kindergarten readiness study we use, we only have 1 out of 3 children, 1 out of 3 children that come to kindergarten ready to learn. 31% of those kids are ready to learn from free and reduced meal homes. The kicker in this whole thing is only 35% of our students who are coming from non-free and reduced meal homes. So this is, and free and reduced meals is about twice the poverty rate. But only 35% of our children coming from non-free and reduced meal homes are ready for kindergarten. So this is an area we really have to focus on. We're competing for the bottom 3 slots, the lowest kindergarten readiness scores in Maryland. And we're competing with PG County and Baltimore City. This is a community problem we have to address. It's part of my problem that I have to address once the children get to me. But as a community, we need to look at this and we need to get serious about how we're going to help our children get started into school, at least ready for kindergarten. Give them a fighting chance so we're not already working to close that gap. We had a presentation to the board yesterday. We are 5th from the bottom in providing pre-K programs. So it's probably right in alignment with low number of pre-K programs we're providing and the outcome that we expect. I'm very pleased with our pre-K programs. We do beat the rate of 1 to 3, and we have a lot of work yet to do with that. But we have some serious challenges as a community to address this. Our summer plan, right now we're about to enter the longest summer. Again, 38 years I've been here. I think 39 summers. I can't remember a time when the summer's been this long. I have been teaching since back in the day when we went to school after Labor Day. But students will end June 1st, have all June off, all July off, all of August off, and we'll come back right after Labor Day. So we have an enhanced summer learning program. We have our summer schools geared up. We're going to see if we use our iPads to push out books online, things like that. I would encourage you, if you have any influence over children or grandchildren, read, read, and read. And as you travel and things like that, obviously talk about history and science and those types of things. Concerning to me, I believe we'll have a significant number of students that leave us on June 1st and will not open a book until they come back in September. We'll not have mom and dad from the front seat of the car say, what's 2 plus 2? Or just engage them in all in math and things like that. So as a community, we need to look for opportunities to continue to engage our children over these 90 days that they're going to be off to help them be ready for school when they return. So we're looking for opportunities of how we'll make connections with students beyond our summer school. We have a summer feeding program, meal program at lunchtime. We're going to provide resources at those kind of venues, going to have staff there, have teachers there, try to distribute materials, make contact with daycare providers, those types of things. Because it's a long summer, I want to take advantage of the long summer with staff. You know, they'll kind of get a little break, they'll get some rest, they'll get kind of away from the children a little bit, which that happens, and it's kind of a good thing for a few weeks or a few months. But I'm hoping staff will participate in a greater rate than ever before in our summer workshops, where we'll revise our curriculum, where we'll work on lesson planning, where we'll work on teaching techniques, and come back even better in the fall. And then again, as I mentioned, we're on a kind of a listening tour. We've had 8 sessions with our staff. We've had 3 community sessions. Tonight is our 3rd community session at Jonathan Hager at 6 o'clock. If you know anybody who'd like to come out, you'll see this similar presentation to this, and then we just open it up to the floor, and we've talked about and answered and had comments about many, many different topics. So, Paul, yeah, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. Again, Rob Slocum and Dr. Michael field questions after Rob presents. I don't want to state the obvious, but the chamber's involved in these type of activities. The private sector drives any community, and we're not ashamed to say that, and we're proud of that. However, you can't drive a private sector without a quality education system. And so you've heard some of the things that Dr. Michael and his team are doing. We're excited about that. And you also can't drive a community, a private sector, without working with workforce development and economic development. And I'm not sure how much Rob will touch on that, but working with the county, it's an important part of what we do in the business community as well. Rob Slocum is a professional engineer registered in Maryland with over 17 years of experience in the public and private sector. Before assuming the role of Washington County Administrator last month, Rob was tasked with coordinating the work of the division to include the engineering department, construction department, and plan review and permitting department to provide safe, timely, and cost-effective results while ensuring programs are in compliance with the county, state, and federal regulations. A tall task indeed. Previously, Slocum served as Deputy Director of Public Works for Washington County's Department of Engineering and Construction, and he's been with the county since March 2002. Please help me welcome Mr. Rob Slocum.
Good morning. We had a budget hearing last night, so I'm going to try not to confuse my 2 presentations. Just bear with me. As Paul said, I've been with the county about 15 years, and before that, I must have misspoke on the 17. I graduated from college in '95, so yeah, I am getting more gray hair by the day. That is true. But my background working up and through the county, I've seen it grow. I've seen a number of changes, and certainly seen in what I think is going in the right direction. And I want to be a bigger part of that. So, first, I want to introduce you my new bosses. 30 days ago, the commissioners, and this is important because when I stopped and took a look at it, I thought, you know, we have an excellent set of leadership here with our commissioners, in that we have a former town councilman, a real estate agent, we have a small business, former educator, a current educator, and that college instructor. We have business leaders in our community. They're also contractors. So what I'm saying is, basically, we have in our leadership in Washington County government people who know how to get things done, who respect education, Mr. Michael, and are excellent leaders, and I've enjoyed working with them before my current position and already in my current position. I'm not going to bore you with the mission statement that is certainly a good one. What I do want to share with you, though, is my task is to treat employees like a team, meaning when you're good, and when you're not, you have to get off the field and work on things, and then come back. Much like Mr. Michael had said, I have a sense of urgency, and one of those things is to treat our customers like they are our lifeblood. I think sometimes in government, I'm going to go ahead and say it, we forget that we have customers too, and those customers, without them, we don't do well. I'm going to attribute that, some of my success from where I came down at 80 West Baltimore Street, where we had roughly 58 employees, to the fact that we learned fairly quickly that without those folks, we don't do a good job. They're not coming in as much, and that's not good for us. That's not good for our leadership. So we need to understand that our customers are our lifeblood. Second thing that is in this is that we realize we have competition in other communities. That's no secret. You've heard the live, work, play. One of my mottos is make, spend, stay. Let's make stuff here. Let's spend money here in Washington County and in the city of Hagerstown. And let's stay here in the city and in the county. Staying means if it's tourism, spend your tourism dollars here. If it is work, where perhaps you've gone away to school or graduating from high school, stay here in Washington County. Even if you leave temporarily, please come back. We want to create a diverse community where people want to come back and live. And some of the projects you'll see at the end of this presentation will indicate how we're trying to do that in Washington County. The organization is going through some very mild changes, as any does under a new administration, with the support of the county commissioners. We have about 752 employees full-time, and the remarkable statistic for me is we have about 1,100 employees total when you consider all of the part-time work. So it's a large staff indeed, and it's one that certainly requires all hands on deck to get the good work done for the county. Not going to go into demographics too much, other than to say that we do have some challenges in the county, and that our median selling price for a Washington County home is $157, where in Maryland it's $261. Our per capita income is about $35,000. The average household income is about $68,000. So we've got to lift ourselves by our bootstraps a little bit, and as Dr. Altieri has said, grow the middle class. I think that's an excellent challenge, one of them for us, and it really feeds into, if we can do that, growing community where people will want to stay and be in our community. Dr. Michael, his work, Dr. Altieri, his work, Kaplan and others, USMH, are all ready resources for us to get that done. And I think wonderful assets for the community that I'm so thankful we have. Some more demographics you can see from County Business Patterns, and I'm sorry if you can't read that if it's not large enough, but what it's saying is County Business Patterns we're a pretty diverse nature. We have industry, obviously transportation's a big one, services. We have all the tools and skill sets here, I think, and apparently various industry does, to get the job done. It's a matter of trying to grow those and make those as stable as possible, the ones that are here. Employers, for what it's worth, Dr. Michael, thank you. You are the #1 employer in Washington County. 3,100. Meritus Health, State of Maryland, City, First Data. We want to make those as much private industry as well, and grow our workforce and our employer base. So what's important, obviously, if you look at any business, and we said we're going to try to act like a business, is revenue. One thing that you can see here are our top 20, but you can add up all the very small businesses too and say they're just as equally as important. Every single business in Washington County typically is bringing property value, which is tax revenue, jobs, which is income revenue for Washington County. And with that revenue, we can create a better place to live, a place to live, work, and play. So all of these data, very similar to the earlier presentation, is important to us. I'm combing through it, going through it with staff, learning how can we use this to most appropriately use the resources that we do have to get what we're looking for, which is that live, work, play, make, spend, stay in Washington County and working with the city. Expenditures are, congratulations again to Dr. Michael, you are our largest, $107,452,410 in 2017. And that's not meant as a slight, that's meant as a sense of pride for Washington County, and I think our commissioners, that education is so very important to our community. We have a lot going for us and need to look at that as an asset. Public safety, is the next, which is 44. Our sheriff's office, fire and rescue, all important assets to make a community grow and build the way we want to see it go. Our revenue expenditures, again, just pie charts of what I talked about, total revenue, total county expenditures. You can see the biggest ones, 70% in taxes. We have bonds, grants, programs. I think our grants and programs together, if you add the 14% in programs and the 11% in grants, you find 25%. That's 1/4 of our budget on the revenue side is coming from things that Washington County staff actually seeks out to find those assets, those programs that are available, and that's a remarkable number for me. We have a grants management program under our CFO that does a wonderful job in combing through that data, and we are actually, as I said last night in our budget hearing, we are a go-to for some state agencies when there's extra money, reserves around that other local governments haven't spent. They know if they come to us, we can spend it. But not only spend it, the pride source for me, or the source of pride for me on that is we spend it effectively. We spend it so that it makes sense and we get return on it. We do things, we try to leverage with the private sector so that if we have $1 million, thank goodness, we try to leverage it so that we can make it $2 million, or we can make it so it's going to grow tax revenue in the future. We don't just spend $1 million so we can look back and say, it's 25% of our budget. We do it so that we can grow our revenue in the future. Debt is one thing. It's a natural occurrence in government. One thing I do want to say, we're just getting in our bond ratings, doing very well on those. And with that, our debt cost goes down extremely, in that our interest rates for our borrowing, which our borrowing is quite low, is very competitive. You go over from the operating side to the capital side of where the county has spent and is spending, and you'll see that these are not in order, but we have airport, bridges, drainage, education, general government, parks and recreation, public safety, railroad crossings, road improvements, solid waste, transit, water quality. In all those categories, you can see that it's a pretty diverse spending program that Washington County has. And it's all meant to, again, invest back into the county to build the quality of life and feed into that live, work, play, make, spend, stay. We need the infrastructure, we need improvements, we need to stay ahead, or at least equal, so that transportation and other assets can get done, so we can be a marketable community across the nation, and even sometimes competing across the world for business and educators and employees that want to stay here in Washington County. 10-year capital funding, this is where our money comes from. Large general fund, about $215 million. Capital overview, again, just a breakdown in pie chart form. Education, 30%, infrastructure, 38%, water quality, and that even includes, that's 16%, that includes some of the MDE mandated expenses, close to $1 million right now that we're spending on clean water. What we're looking to do is generate a program coming up in the next month or two called Clean Streets, Clean Streams, looking to clean up some of the streets in and around the county, in turn get credit for that from MDE. So again, we're trying to do things, spend the money so that people can see it, but it also makes it more inviting to live and stay in Washington County. Another wonderful asset that we have, I haven't mentioned yet, part of our capital is airport at 4%. And I know Commissioner Barr is here and was just out and touting our service out with the Legion Air and looking to expand that. I know that's a very exciting proposition for us. Major project initiatives, we have a number of them. I won't even be able to excitingly, I won't be able to get into all of them or bore you with the smaller ones, but what we are looking at for our positive or initiatives within the county are, number one certainly is downtown, right where we are now, is the UIP project, and this is just a map of the county. Our UIP downtown, our interstate, we've always been looking, or over the past 20 years, been looking to grow that interstate. To me, the interstate isn't just a, hey, we need 3 lanes, it's a numbers game, and engineering-wise, we need 3 lanes. To me, the interstate, when I first learned to drive and was going through Maryland, I thought Maryland was one of the most beautiful scenic places on the interstate that we saw. Today, I can't say the same thing. I think opening it up, showing that we are ready for business, we get 60,000 folks, 60,000 cars that pass through on that interstate each day. If we can show that we're ready for business, open it up, there might be 2 or 4 people in each of those cars. There's a chance that some of those might be looking to locate a business. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they saw that we're ready for business by having a nice open interstate the same way Martinsburg did? And I want to attribute the P&G facility to the 3-lane interstate. But it is coincidental that they have both of them now. Other projects, we're looking at expansion, working with the state on a priority down at Maryland 65 and Interstate 70. One of our, if you saw in our appraised values of tax revenue, one of our largest is the premium outlets. That is the largest, in fact. We have other business owners here that are affected today by the inefficiency of that current interchange. So we're trying to improve that. There is more coming to that interchange. We want to make it easy for people that are passing by or passing through or living and working in Washington County and the city of Hagerstown to get on and off and spend their money, again, back to make, spend, stay, spend their money in Washington County at those businesses that you can see from the interstate. We have Cascade up in the northeast portion of the county that has some really exciting prospects now. I think we just 2 weeks ago, or was it last week, we had a presentation on that here, so I'm sure you're keenly familiar about that one. Very excited. And I think that's it for the map. I did add a couple ones I've already mentioned: clean streets, clean streams, reinvigorating business development. It's not a capital project, but what we're doing now is reviewing business development. How can we get out there and be more of a face, working with Paul and Jim Kercheval and others to get in the business community to see that we are marketing our wares and growing our revenue base, both in employment and in improvements for real property appraisals. And city-county collaboration. To me, this is incredibly big, is that we need to work with the city, and the city needs to work with us. We just had our first joint meeting this week. The mayor had indicated, and I didn't realize this, but I was astounded, the mayor had indicated that this was the first joint meeting that we had had in 4 years. I meant to check on that because it seems fascinating, but I'll take him at his word. We are going to meet again, and both our commissioners and the council members, Valerie's here today, would like to meet more often. I think at least quarterly was one of our objectives. So to me, that was very encouraging, because we do need each other to live, grow, and really tout this thing of Washington County, the city of Hagerstown, and the idea of live, work, play, make, spend, stay. Thank you.
Dr. Michael, will you please come up? So we'll field questions as Dr. Michael gets up here. You can ask either one or the other, both of these gentlemen, your question. And I'd ask Dr. Michael and Rob to do, since out in the audience, not going to microphone, just summarize, repeat the question, and then answer the question. So we'll take questions for a little bit here, and don't be shy.
I did forget one of our things on the map, which I couldn't see too well from here, is Manetna Farms. Manetna Farms is a huge deal for us. We have two participants here that is a big deal for them as well. Dr. Altieri and HCC, Greg Snook and Chief. Manetna Farms is an incredible investment that the county's made, but also Chief has made, in that getting utilities in by Chief and the county with the roadway, the connection. We are connecting from Eastern Boulevard up to that road that's there now, and if you haven't used it, you come in through the backside of, to the backside of HCC. It's really a beautiful sight to see the campus, but it's also very exciting to see the potential growth there and the improvements that could be made with business and locating that there. It's a wonderful opportunity that we are certainly going to be marketing with the county and those private and public partners.
I've got a question to get you warmed up there and let you guys think about this, ladies and gentlemen, think about this. What can the business and nonprofit community do with each of you and your organizations to help with what you're doing, help promote Washington County and Hagerstown and our community? So each of you, how can we help as a community of businesses and nonprofits?
I'll go ahead and try to be quick about that answer, is that I think the first thing that we have to do is, for me, and maybe it's a bias, try to develop that mantra of make, spend, stay. How can we do things in the county? How can we project a positive image for other communities that people are going to want to be here? Make, spend, stay, live, play, tourism, whatever it is in Washington County. We have wonderful assets in my mind. And we have a wonderful base in that education's important to us. We have character. We have natural assets in our location, scenic beauty, Antietam Battlefield, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Our airport, everything. That we need to look inside and try to tout those to our friends that maybe aren't here already, and get people to stop by, visit, and see the wonderful things that we have going on here in Washington County.
I would probably say help us try to help children value education. I think in general we value a solid education in Washington County, but I don't think we're encouraging children enough, and parents aren't talking to their children enough to value their education while they're in school right now, and to plan on being educated continuously over the many years to come. So whatever we could do as a community just to help everyone to value education and to think a little bit more than just short term. I know as employers, often you're looking for your next employee for right now. I think that's critical that we help prepare students for that level, and or if it's additional post-secondary training that they might need to be your employees today, but you also are interested in employees for tomorrow and out in the future. So I just think we need to constantly be talking with children. You know, what are you interested in doing when you grow up? Have you thought about what education that might require? You realize that's a lot of math and science, or that's, you know, humanities. Do you realize the type of skills that you might have to use? If you're interested in pursuing the arts, have you thought about what that might look like down the road? Just anything like that we can just talk more and more about education, the priority of education, the need for education.
Yeah, I did have a question, actually a comment. I wasn't terribly surprised to hear you say that 35% of the kids not in free and reduced meal lunch were not prepared for kindergarten. And to your question about make, spend, stay, I think that as a community, we have to do a better job of providing childcare, affordable preschool education for parents who don't qualify for Head Start. We have parents here in this community who are really do value education. They get it. It's, in the long picture, it's the best thing for their families, but they're working, their dollars aren't going as far as they used to. So those kids who don't qualify for Head Start aren't getting the preschool education, the really good preschool education that's going to make them ready for kindergarten. So as a community, I think what we have to do is not be talking to the kids, but talking to our elected officials and our school board members and saying, make that a priority, put some money into that, and support those businesses. Maybe support businesses to have preschool environments right there on their campuses. That would be my suggestion.
Other questions? Yes, please, John, and we'll go back over here.
How is it more cost effective to have a separate city government structure and separate county structure rather than having one government body that deals with the issues in all of Washington County.
There is two different governments for a reason, and one is the city of Hagerstown is its own body and entity, and the county is its own, and they have different challenges to measure. Now, are there overlap in those? Absolutely, and there has been discussion about more efficiency for both. I'm already working with Kathleen Mayer, who's looking at some of her permits, for instance, challenges there, to see how we do things versus how they do things, and pick from both how either one can be used to better serve both communities. So there are big differences between the two, and there is overlap. There's no argument there. But the two managements are certainly there for a reason and have grown to be accustomed to what that base is. After all, the city, the folks that are in the city do have made that choice to be there and do want the services that they have, and same for the county.
I saw a question, Nick?
Dr. Michael, my question, or not a question, but a comment is, a few years ago, the Hagerstown Rotary took on an initiative to find about literacy with the kindergarten stage or young pre-K. And what we found out is the parents, whether they're supplemented or not, were not educated enough to help get the pre-K. Their literacy was so low that some of them couldn't write, some of them couldn't read, didn't have to do a bank account, all the basics that you're talking about making sure we got students for. What can we do, what can the board do to possibly help the parents' literacy to help them?
So again, this goes back to where it's a community challenge. I think we need to have a tremendous communication plan all the way from birth as children are born. I know we do have a group through the foundation where books are provided and sent to families all the way until they get into pre-K or into kindergarten. I think that's important. I think the majority of our parents want the best for their children. I think they're challenged sometimes to offer the best for their children. And I think even for our non-free reduced meal families, I think, you know, to make the wage, I think Rob said it's like an average of $68,000 per household. A lot of that's driving down the road, or it's mom and dad driving down the road. So they get home, it's late, they're tired, they're trying to get their kids picked up, they're trying to get them to bed, trying to get their homework done maybe, and if they're not in school, they're trying to get them to bed just because they're young and need sleep. Who has the time then to take time to read with their children, work with their children? So I think we need a probably greater communication plan. That's why this is a community effort where we have to work with very young families. Read is probably the simplest thing I could say to anybody. Most parents might struggle with reading some parents might struggle with reading, you know, maybe beyond like an 8th grade level or 6th grade level, but they certainly can read to their child simple books, and that's where children start. And working with colors and starting to count, understanding how a book is orientated as part of kindergarten readiness. Some of our children come to us and they don't even understand, you know, right side up, upside down, left to right, to read left to right, simple counting, any letters, some colors. It's hard to believe you'd be 5 years old and not be exposed to that at all. So we need to get more information out from the school system, but we need the community, pediatric doctors, whoever. When you come in for that 3-year-old checkup, hey, not only can your child walk and do some of the things as far as physically, but are you talking to your child? Are you reading to your child? Maybe some communication like that. So I think education just needs to be on the mind of everybody. Maybe not the most important thing you're thinking about, but every opportunity you have to, you know, say something to a child is probably going to be important.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am, please.
To piggyback on that, I know through EDC we had a group that worked with employers in the area, and they said that one of the most important things was to hit those character skills within kids, that they know that being on time, knowing the basics, the core things that we used to stress so much. Do you feel that maybe we can work harder on that in our educational system? To make sure that's a part of everyday everything, that every class is committed to the character skills that make good citizens and make good parents, and that will bring on those generations to come.
As I've been talking with the staff groups, we see a little bit of a need to refocus on some of our discipline challenges and some things like that, which is also part of our character education, even back to kindergarten readiness. Part of that is, can you get along with your fellow children? Can you take simple directions, some of that? And we actually have a significant number of children just can't, beyond just sitting still. That might be a different factor, but they just can't take simple directions. They're not used to following directions. They're not used to getting along with their other 4- and 5-year-old friends. It's just hard to believe, but I think we're seeing the challenge of that growing up through their educational group, and I think that's why we're seeing some of the character issues we have. We continue to work on character, we continue to work on bullying, a little challenged by what social media is kind of bringing to us. I think it's going to be some interesting research studies in the future, how social media has helped and enhanced our lives, and how social media has changed how we interact with people, for good and for challenges. But yes, we need to continue to work on that.
As a follow-up to that point, are some of the kids bringing issues from adverse childhood experiences? I attended a conference that was done by Vesta Community of Hope. They were talking about the percentage of children in our community that have high ACE scores and how that impacts their ability to learn. Could you talk to that?
We have a lot of students that have had some type of trauma in their life already at a very young age, and when there's a number of these factors that kind of group up together, it just affects them for a number of years, if not for the rest of their life. So I think some of the things, again, as a community, we need to work on issues of child abuse and issues of, again, just good parenting, alcohol, drug abuse in the home. You know, every year I just think I've heard the most horrifying stories, and it's got to be the craziest yet, but every year I hear something new. Dad just got out of prison, mom just went into prison, dad's girlfriend's going to move in while mom is in prison. You know, there's drugs and alcohol in the house. These are not made up stories. These are just what a portion of our children are living in Washington County. And just the craziness just goes on and on. We have a tremendous number of great people in Washington County, and great parents and great kids in Washington County. But some of this is what children are, that's the challenge that they're bringing to school, and then we're trying to overcome that, and then there's a deficit in their learning on top of all these issues from home. So it's, again, part of what we need to deal with. It's heartbreaking to see and then to hear of child abuse or sexual abuse on top of alcohol and drugs. It's a significant factor. I hate to mention this one, but another one we're struggling with right now is some of the gang activity in Washington County. Many years ago, I know that the city council, one of the city council members kind of helped pull together the gang task force, help educate a group of us, maybe it was 20 years ago. We were talking about gangs in prisons, and all the pictures were of adults, you know, their signs and their tattoos and colors and all those things, but they were adults. Now we're flipping through books that we have in a couple of our schools, of our middle school kids, that are not in wannabe gangs, because at one time they were in wannabe gangs. They are truly in gangs. 2 years ago, we had 6 instances where our kids were involved in some type of criminal behavior that required, we have a special review board, and then we determine what happens with that child as far as their educational setting. That was 6 2 years ago. Last year we had 5. This year, as of Friday, when I got the latest report, 24 different instances, and the majority of them are students, children, with guns, and armed robbery, and shots fired in the community. This is a serious problem. I mean, when I get these reports, it starts to make my heart pound, because we haven't had any issues in school of this nature, but I mean, things are happening 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, not 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's another challenge that we have here as a county, particularly in the city of Hagerstown, we have to address, because again, we're back to what are children bringing into school with them. I think it's amazing. They work and they study and do the things, and we accomplish what we do during the school day, when that's the life that they go home to on the street. And we're insulated from that. Many of the people in this room probably are shocked by that, because that might not be where we work and live and play. But our staff's seeing this every day.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a fairly new Washington County resident. We actually moved here from Berkeley County, Washington, specifically for the school system. one of the things that I think might be within the board's control is what the children are fed during the day. And this cohort of children that you're talking about, many of them are on the free lunch program, they're getting their breakfast and their lunch at school. I just wondered if there's any movement right now to look at the menus, to look at this movement now nationally, go back to cooking from scratch, and using local ingredients to reduce the sugar content and all of that. It'd be interesting because it might also benefit our local farms here.
We have a farm to school program. We buy an extensive amount of local grown products here in Washington County. We work a lot through Greensburg Farms. Now, some of that product obviously comes from other areas, particularly in the off season. We have a hydroponics is going to be the wrong word. Where they're working with aquaculture and hydroponics at the same time down in Boonesboro. We're buying lettuce from them and products from them. So we are buying a lot of fresh products that we're providing through our students. Reinhardt Orchard, we buy a lot of apples from them. Again, another local product for Washington County. We obviously have to follow the federal regulations. Just in the last week, we think they're going to relax some of those regulations. I mean, they were taking all the flavor out of food. The salt was going, I mean, way, 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 way down. Whole grains and things like that. Just had our food service director present on this yesterday to our board. Some of that works for some products, but doesn't work for all products. And when the children stop eating even what would be healthy, if it doesn't taste good to them, they stop eating that and they start eating other things that are less healthy. But we're working on and continue to revise our menus and things. We are bound by so many federal regulations of what we can do. And then we're trying to meet the needs of children and keep our costs down. So working from scratch, we've worked a lot of product. Our marinara sauce, we bought all fresh tomatoes a couple years ago and did a huge, gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons of our own marinara sauce. We've done that with frozen corn, some other local products. So we are trying to provide a lot of that to our students. It's still a little bit of a challenge, again, just trying to keep in that cost and price range. Probably half of what you're buying McDonald's lunch for, you can buy a school lunch for. But then with all the regulations, it's difficult. Keep the sugar out, keep the salt out. You got to kind of find that balance of what children will eat at the same time.
Nick, do you have another question?
This is for Mr. Slocum. You mentioned P&G and Interstate 81 in Martinsburg and millions or billions of dollars that we're going to spend there, and the project's ongoing. Well, I guess it's not a question. I guess Washington County wasn't considered yet. But I understand in talking to the business community that I know, Paul Fry can tell you this as well as Jeff Pond. Maryland's not the most popular state to want to do business in. And they probably rated in the higher numbers, at least the last time we talked. What can Washington County EDC Chamber, what can we do to make our Washington County, where we want to keep people to stay, spend and eat, more business friendly? And I'm sure I got a lot of people in this room would agree with me. But what can we do to make us more competitive?
That's an excellent question. I think, first of all, at a local level, we've tried to make our processes more friendly. So apply common sense, keep the safety, apply common sense. But I can give you a quick story about our code cycle, for instance. Codes, this many books, they get sold every 3 years by a group that publishes books. And that code cycle, and there's people that go around the country and they meet on how the code should change. And this is building code. So this is everything from plumbing to electrical to buildings and how they should be built. And then we've put out these books for well over probably 40 years, but they still change them every 3 years because there's better ways to do things. And I don't argue with technology, and there's better ways to do things. But every 3 years to go through and change a lot of stuff, not everything changes, they'll argue, but you have to sift through all those books, and I think I added it up one time, it's over 2,500 pages of code, which can be mind-numbing to go through for most of us. So I went down to Annapolis, and I said, the county, it's required by state law, and this speaks to what you're saying exactly. It's required by state law that Annapolis thinks we should have these every 3 years, not should, shall. It's illegal if we don't, for instance. We know some counties in Maryland, most in other states, they don't have that requirement. Another requirement, residential fire sprinklers. Some states actually say you cannot make residential fire sprinklers mandatory by locally. We say the locals can't get rid of residential fire sprinklers. Whether you like them or not, that's not where I'm going, is that a state decision. So we get down to, with the Home Builders Association, get down to Annapolis and say, look, you know, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to make this a 6-year cycle for us. We'll adopt every 6 years, we'll skip a year, because it's an incredible amount of resource load for our small staff to learn all these new codes every 3 years. And they had the dogs out on us. We were unsafe, we were unlawful, we were gonna not save lives with these codes and so forth. So I think one of the measures is to stay tuned, not just locally what's going on, but look at some of your state representatives and say, how can, talking to them, engaging with them, how can we get down to Annapolis to say, we need some common sense approaches here to what's cost effective. Now, Montgomery County, one of the richest counties in the country, they can do certain things like that, and it doesn't affect them as much as it does us. But for us to compete with the North, in Pennsylvania, in the South, in West Virginia, and even Virginia, it's very difficult in this little 12-mile section of where Interstate 81 goes through to compete with different regulations and restrictions. And I know for many of you to do your businesses, it's also difficult that way. So I think tapping in at the state level to your representatives there, our delegation, letting them know specific issues would be very helpful. Letting the county know, our leaders in the county is also helpful. But it has to be some of those very specific issues, like here's what's really affecting me, here's why I can't do, or here's why I may consider not locating my business or expanding in Maryland. And I think those things really speak to them. In our case with our codes, it didn't. We were overwhelmed when we got down there. But if we get enough of those together, which are not just kicking the can down the road, but specific details on here's what's driving business away, here's what's driving folks away from Maryland, then we might really be able to get somewhere with the right audience.
All right, well, thank you, Rob and Michael. Hope you a round of applause again.
Thank you, gentlemen. I just would like to make a personal observation. Well, first of all, how do we get involved with education? We have an On Track initiative, which is a birth to either or career or college initiative. There's over 30 community partners. So we have different committees, and we do have a workforce committee. So if any of you are interested in this On Track initiative, please see myself, and we'll direct your help as needed and where we can use your expertise. My personal observation is through my professional development at the U.S. Chamber, and Donna Long has gone through this as well. It's 4 one-week sessions over 4 years. And it's professional development for Chamber and Association professionals. And we get to interact with people from all over the country. And we see and hear a lot of issues at communities. My interaction with the Maryland Association Chamber of Commerce Executives, I get to get a lot of different communities and interact with Chamber executives from all over the state. I will tell you there's no better community than Washington County for partnering. I'm just telling you that's a fact. We have a lot of smart people, we have a lot of great resources, we have a lot of excellent things going for us. And we heard about some of our challenges this morning for maybe economic development and the county and education. I promise you there's no better community that can resolve these issues in our community. I just know that. I'm telling you from my experience and from my interaction with the people in this room and outside this room. So I am very excited and positive about the future for Washington County. We have 2 great leaders you heard from this morning. We have a lot of other great leaders in this room and in the community. So working together, we can resolve these issues. I just know it. But we have to do it together, and we have to look longer term, and we have a lot of good things going on. So I'm optimistic about that. I'm also optimistic about some other chamber events that are coming up. So I'm going to take just a second for some shameless plugs here. First of all, if you want to know more about the chamber, what we can do to help you as members, the 3rd Thursday of every month, we have an hour at the office where you can come and hear from Tim and Rod about what we can do for your business. Maximize your membership. The next one is May 18th, 9 to 10 at the Chamber office. Business After Hours is also the same evening at 5 o'clock. It's going to be Innovative Incorporated, their new office on Pennsylvania Avenue. If you haven't been there, it's a great office. It's really, they've done some neat things there, and you can win $3,500. But you have to be there. You have to register by noon that day, and you have to be there when your name's called. Everyone as chamber member is in that drawing. So if you're not there, you can't win $3,500. Learning Lunch Hour, another great opportunity, June 6th, 11:30 to 1 at Hager Hall. The topic is utilizing Google Drive and apps in your business. A great presentation. If you're not using Google as effective as you can, there's an opportunity there. Our next exit issues will be June 7th, and that's going to be back here, and we'll have Cassie Lewis from the County Department of Business Development to give us an update. And Public Safety Awards. We're doing our first annual Public Safety Awards breakfast June 22nd, Williamsport Banquet Hall, so save the date, more details to follow. Hagerstown.org is where you can find all this, or talk to one of us. We're glad you're here. Dr. Michael and Mr. Rob Slocum may be around for a few minutes if you want to chat with them. Anything we can do, let us know, and thank you for being here, and have a good rest of the day.
Great.